PFTOT Tuesday edition, an opportunity for us to talk about things we didn't have time to get to in a show that was surprisingly jam-packed today because, Chris, it is the slow time after all. I had a question yesterday for a PFT mailbag that I did. Our good friend at Mike Likes Dirt, one of my all-time favorite Twitter handles, and for the record, I do like dirt. Could the removal of Tom Brady instantly have made the AFC East one of the most exciting / competitive divisions in the National Football League? My first thought was yes, but then once I started looking around, I don't know, Chris. I've already written my thoughts about it. Let me hear what you have to say, and then I'll tell you whether I agree with you. Does Brady's departure for the NFC South make the AFC East one of the most exciting competitive divisions in the league, top to bottom?
Well, no, it does not. I think it makes it more fun because it's just more wide open than we've ever had in the last 20 years in the AFC East. I mean, I think that's really the bottom line. Plus, there's some young quarterbacks, right? And Josh Allen, Sam Darnold, Tua down in Miami, and now Jarrett Stidham, to where you just wonder who's going to kind of take control of this division and kind of run with it. So I think that's what makes it exciting. Plus, you know, there's teams that are building that I think we're excited for. New England, for one, we're all kind of, and I don't want to say all because you and I aren't, you know, but I think the most of the media and the public is kind of counting New England out, like they're not going to be relevant this year. I don't believe that. And I think Buffalo is going to make a play to be one of the better teams in the AFC. And it's a big year for Adam Gase and the New York Jets and Sam Darnold and company, and they've done some good things. So, no, I'm not going to say it's the most exciting. It's better than maybe it's been in years past, but not the most exciting. And the most exciting division in football, to me, will still go back to the title holder from last year, and that's the NFC West. The NFC West got better. I mean, I don't know how we could say that, but, I mean, they did. And I just look at that with the quarterbacks and the coaches and some of the talent on those rosters and go, it's going to be hard to dethrone them as the best division in the game this year.
We've already spitballed about the possibility that with 3 wildcard teams per conference now, the NFC West could have all 4 teams make it to the postseason, especially since their schedule includes, if all 16 games are played per team, the 4 teams of the AFC East, the 4 teams of the NFC East, 2 of the weakest divisions right now in football relative to the other divisions. Nothing against those teams, but somebody's got to be the weakest division. The NFC West could fatten up outside of their own division, kind of go, around 500 as they do the home and home series with the 3 other teams each. And they could have 2, 3, and in theory, 4 teams in the playoffs. And I have a hard time ranking. I'd say the 49ers are the best, but after that, I'm really struggling. I guess it goes 49ers, Seahawks, Cardinals, Rams. But, man, how can the Rams were just in the Super Bowl 15 months ago. How in the hell can we put them in 4th place in their own division? That tells you how good the division is right now.
Well, yeah, it is. It's that loaded. But don't put them at the 4th spot. I think they still deserve the respect to be the 3rd spot in front of the Cardinals. As excited as I am about Kyler Murray and Cliff Kingsbury in year 2 and DeAndre Hopkins, I'm with you. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm very excited, but I'm not going to throw them in front of the Rams yet. The Rams quietly had a good draft, have had a pretty good offseason, and with Sean McVay and company, they're going to be tough. They're battle-tested, so I'm not counting the Rams out. Certainly not. They were in that playoff combo all year. But the real question is, what's the second toughest division? I think that's really where the big thing lies. Who do you think it might? NFC South, AFC West, AFC South. I guess that's the ones I look at. I know the AFC North is in that combo too. There's a lot of good divisions with some interesting storylines of teams where, hey, they got great quarterbacks, or this team's desperate and this coaching staff better to win this year, or they're going to get fired, whatever it may be. But I think I would probably give the NFC South second billing right now as we sit here in May.
Well, and I think that the real question is which team in these various divisions is the weakest link, because that can drag the division down. It can't be 3 teams that are competitive and 1 crap team. Now, in the AFC North, we don't know how it's going to go this year. It could be all 4 teams are competitive. It could be Joe Burrow makes the Bengals relevant and contenders right away. In the AFC South, there's a perception that Jaguars are tanking or falling apart inadvertently as they try to save jobs of the head coach and the GM. But they could end up, if these folks are right, and I'm not sure they are, they could end up dragging down the perception of the rest of the division. The same thing in the South. If the Panthers, we don't know what the Panthers are going to do with Matt Rule as the head coach
You're
and
right.
Teddy Bridgewater as the quarterback, but they kind of stand out as the team that would maybe keep that from being top to bottom a great division. The NFC North. Last year I felt like that division was wide open and any of the teams could have won the division. And early on, the Lions were much better than we thought they were going to be. The Bears were showing some promise. I think this year, I don't know that, a lot of these divisions feel like there are two contenders and two teams that really are going to have a hard time. And in the AFC East, it's the Jets and the Dolphins who have to bridge the gap. In the NFC East, it's Washington and the Giants who have to bridge the gap. And I think in the NFC North, it's the Bears and the Lions who have to close that gap between them and the Packers and the Vikings.
So I think what we're saying then, to me, just fleshing this out, we're in agreement that the NFC West is the best division in football. But then to me, it sounds like, and I'm in agreement with you here, it's the NFC South or the AFC West, which would be second. And you're right, Carolina's a question mark, in the NFC South. But Brady and Breeze and Matt and Ryan, and the fact that, hey, the Falcons and Dan Quinn and Thomas Dimitroff, they might be on the hot seat if things don't go well for them. It's Breeze and Brady's last year, or at least Breeze's last year, Brady his last two. So I look at that. But then, to your point with the NFC West, Mike, or AFC West, excuse me, I don't know if they have that team that, we look at to go, ooh, they're really poor. I know the Chargers went 5-11 last year, but they were 12-4 the year before. And like you said many times, even last year, they could have been 10-6. They had a lot of chances to pull out some games late in the, late on in the game to win and just didn't deliver. So I think the more I sit here, I'm going to give the NFC South the edge just a little bit over the AFC West right now. But I think it's more because of the quarterback play. I'm giving it the advantage.
It is weird, though, that these divisions all have that who doesn't belong and why team. And the Raiders would stand out, I think, from the Chiefs, Chargers, and Broncos. And you know what this is going to be? This is going to be the ultimate test for Derek Carr, because if the Raiders do end up clearly alone in the basement this year, it's done. I'm surprised that he's still the starting quarterback. I know his numbers aren't horrible, but you're not winning the kind of games that John Gruden is going to want to win. And if we see Drew Lock make great strides this season, if we see the Chargers with Tyrod Taylor or Justin Herbert being competitive, and the Raiders stand out as the fourth-place team, their first year in Las Vegas, I think that could be it. It's got to be it for Derek Carr if it goes that way. But if the Raiders can put something together, they could be top to bottom every bit as dangerous as the NFC West. And you could have multiple playoff teams come out of that division, Chris.
Well, I think your thought's right there, though. Again, Derek Carr, it hasn't been like stellar. It hasn't been bad either. This year, though, will be a huge year for him. And I think, they've improved some talent around him to give him a chance to succeed and quiet the doubters of him out there. But, I think, to what you're saying a little bit more about the AFC West, too, the more I think about it, the more I probably go, yeah, you're right. The Raiders are that team that I question. The Raiders are the one team in the division that I look at that doesn't really have an elite side of the ball to talk up. The Chargers, I can sit here and go, this is one of the best defenses in football. The Broncos, I can sit here and go, it's one of the best defenses in football, and watch out for the offense. We know about the Chiefs, and it's one of the best offenses, the most explosive offenses we've ever seen in the history of football. The Raiders, what is it? We know they have a really good offensive line. But after that, I don't know, Mike, I'm going to sit here and just do this. Like, what were they? They were the 25th offense in football last year. So you look at that, or no, I'm wrong. They're not the 25th offense in football. I'm totally wrong. Hold on. I messed up. I'm on the wrong year. Where were they offensively last year? Just let me make sure I got this right so I don't mess this up.
I don't have it in front of me, but I'll look it up.
I got it.
We're not
Hold
live.
on.
At least we're just live to tape. Ladies and gentlemen,
it's all right.
Please ignore our dust as Chris SImms checks his stats from 2019. They had Josh Jacobs, who was a Rookie of the Year candidate, and a lot of Raiders fans upset that Jacobs didn't ultimately get that prize.
11.
The passing game was, and I think
pretty
how much
good.
better it would have been if Antonio Brown hadn't flamed
Right.
out. Now they're relying on Henry Ruggs to do a lot right out of the gates. I think it's a lot of pressure to put on him. But, look, Derek Carr isn't a horrible quarterback. I just don't think that I just don't think he's the guy for John Gruden. Maybe he's the guy for someone else. I just don't think he's the guy for John Gruden, Chris. And I think that if they fade into fourth place in the AFC West this year, this is the year that Gruden's going to come to that conclusion.
Yeah, well, I would bet anything that if they fade the fourth in the West, it's going to get blamed on Derek Carr regardless, unless he has such a phenomenal statistical year that Gruden and the organization can't blame him, and then they'll have to figure out some other way to place blame on somebody or something else. But again, I think Derek Carr is more than a capable NFL starting quarterback. I do. Now, do I question? Yes, his personality with John Gruden. Certainly, I'm with you all the way there. But this will be a big year, and I stand corrected. They were better offensively last year than I gave them credit for in my mind, and I had my wrong year up on my NFL Jesus there. But this is going to be a big year for him. The passing game, especially, they've built a special offensive line. You talked about Jacobs being special, but all right. So come down to it, though. Who are we saying the AFC West is the second best division in the game, other than behind the NFC West?
First of all, for anyone who wonders what NFL Jesus is, that's a industry reference to a website that has comprehensive statistical information for media members, and it's NFL GSIS. Those are the initials for whatever it ultimately stands for. People call
Game
it NFL
Stats
Jesus
Information Site.
All right, but that's not as easy to say as NFL Jesus, JSIS. Anyway, I'm looking at the AFC West now, and it is amazing. Only one of the teams was above 500 last year. Only one of the teams was at or above 500. Broncos 7-9, Raiders 7-9, Chargers 5-11. And you mentioned the Raiders were 11th in offense. They only scored 313 points. They were third place in their own division in scoring, and they had a minus 106 scoring differential. So when they lost, they got blown off the field. I mean, those are embarrassing numbers. Anytime you're triple digits in point differential, that is not good. I'm going to go with the NFC West as the strongest, and I'm going to go with the AFC West based upon projected improvements this year. I think they'll be number 2.
Okay, I like that. I'm going to make the AFC West number 3 for me. I'm going to give the NFC South number 2 right now, even though I know Carolina's a little bit of a question. I do like what Matt Rule and company are doing there, but I guess I just like the top 3 a lot. And the Falcons, we know, have a lot of talent on their roster. It's a big year. Matt Ryan's kind of, he's still a really, really good quarterback that I think people have forgotten. I just got to think there's certain motivations within that organization that get them back into the playoff convo and make them relevant in the NFL. And just, again, I think the Bucs and Saints are going to be towards the top of that conversation in the NFC. So that's a good talk. Good talk.
But a very real scheduling dynamic if we're going to compare the NFC West and the NFC South. Again, the West plays the 4 teams of the NFC East and the AFC East each. The NFC South plays all 4 teams from the NFC North and all 4 teams from the AFC West. So it's a tougher out-of-division slate for those teams than for the NFC West. So I think collectively the NFC West is going to seem better just because that's half of your schedule. Those 8 games are half of your schedule. Those 2 other divisions where you play every team in them. And as we segregate these divisions, you do get a benefit if you play a weaker division, and it's a detriment if you end up playing, obviously, a stronger division.
Definitely. All
right, let's call it there. PFTOT done for Tuesday. We'll be back again on Wednesday. Chris SImms Unbuttoned coming up later today. Chris and Paul Burmeister are going to redraft the 2016 draft. Check that out wherever you get your podcasts, and we'll see you. Oh, and I'm going to talk to Tom Curran later today from NBC Sports Boston on the PFT PM podcast. We tentatively have that set up. I want to get his thoughts on this Josh McDaniels, Tom Brady story, plus other things relating to the aftermath of the Tom Brady departure from New England. So check that out as well. We'll see everybody back here on Wednesday.
See ya.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.